There's a quote that started off doing the rounds on Twitter, which has now made its way to Instagram and Facebook, which some people are saying perfectly sums up 2020. Everything other than working was forbidden. Walking in the streets, having fun, singing, dancing, getting together. Everything was forbidden. Taken from 1984 by George Orwell. And for those who think that the restrictions placed on citizens because of coronavirus, who view it as a form of government tyranny, that taps into their mood. And it also follows the narrative of the anti-maskers, the protesters, the COVID deniers, the conspiracy nuts, and even those on the extreme political left. And I don't mean people who vote for the Democrats or the Labour Party. I mean the people who were down in London every weekend waving the flag of the Soviet Union. However, there is a problem with this widely circulated quote. It isn't from 1984. Although it was published in 1949, the novel was written in 1948. Orwell just reversed the last two numbers. That's where the title 1984 comes from. And although it is undoubtedly a masterpiece of dystopia and science fiction, it's one of the most quoted, or rather misquoted, books of all time. As we've just seen, anyone who wants to push their agenda can just make something up and claim it's from 1984, and then people get duped. Over the years, I've heard many members of the tinfoil hat brigade and extreme political lefties misquoting the novel, claiming it's about globalisation or commercialism or capitalism or even big pharma. And if you squint a bit, you can see where they're coming from. But a bizarre thing with 1984 is that many of the people who try and quote from it haven't fucking read it. Because if they had, they'd know the book is actually about communism. Orwell was a socialist who had fought in the Spanish Civil War. But 1984 was a response to the horrors emerging from Stalin's Russia. Because something which modern communists tend to gloss over is that the USSR murdered more people than the Nazis. At the beginning of the novel, there's a description of, I think it's called Victory Mansions, the block of flats where Winston Smith, the lead protagonist, lives. It's described as smelling of cabbage, there are constant power cuts, the lift doesn't work, and the only colour is on the posters put up by the totalitarian government. And as the story goes on, we learn the citizens are under surveillance and the state controls the media. That is a near perfect description of Soviet Russia, East Germany, or even today in North Korea. But it bears no relation to this bullshit that's meant to be from the novel. So let's pick apart a few of the things that are supposed to be forbidden. Having fun and getting together. Bollocks! The first thing that Winston writes in his diary is a description of going to the cinema, where the audience, including him, enjoyed a film of a boat full of refugees being bombed and then straight by helicopter gunships. Not pleasant, but social gatherings weren't banned in 1984. And walking in the street. The second sentence in chapter 1 describes Winston walking in the wind trying to keep warm. Whoever wrote this crap hasn't read 1984. It doesn't even read like Orwell. It doesn't have the depth or the rhythm. In fact, let's look at the very first sentence of the novel. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. That is pure genius. In one sentence, the reader can feel what's going on. It's a bright, cold day, but it's 13 o'clock. The world is radically different. Compare that to everything other than working was forbidden, walking in the streets, having fun, singing, dancing, getting together, everything was forbidden. All that needs on the end is, and 5G was a weapon and the earth is flat. And there's an irony that we're living in a time where misinformation, unfounded conspiracies and downright lies are taken as gospel truth, because in the book, Winston works for the Ministry of Truth and his job is to alter the past, to change old news stories so that they don't contradict whatever it is that Big Brother is currently saying, if he even exists. And that's what happened here. Someone, whoever they are, wanted to add weight to their narrative, so they made something up, passed it off as a quote from an iconic novel written over 70 years ago and stuck it on the internet, And people believed them. We are one step away from believing that 2 and 2 can equal 5. I beg of you, please don't believe everything you read online, in particular anything on social media, because there's dickheads like me on here. Thanks for watching.